Hiya, welcome to my channel, and welcome to another one of the videos about the Mark 1 Escort. The trials and tribulations continue. Found some more issues that needed dealing with pretty promptly, and found a really good resolution in the end. So without further ado, let's get on with it, eh? So after I've been to the dyno and had all the injectors and the new turbo mapped to the ECU, unleash the car's full performance, and I could properly give it some stick and really drive it the way I wanted to drive it. Found out that it didn't really drive as nice as I was hoping to. It was pretty evident I had to take it and go and get the wheels aligned properly on a rig. I'd only ever set it up, if you remember, a couple of videos ago, using bits of string and a laser to try and get it as good as I could, so I was at least somewhere in the ballpark. The steering feel was pretty poor, like it wouldn't return to centre, and I know that's a bit of a trait of the Corsa power steering with the friction in the column and stuff. Like, it doesn't want to return to centre as quickly, but I literally had to push it back into centre, which wasn't great. And like it tram-lined everywhere. Any little crack or like the white lines on the roads, like the car followed everything pretty dramatically. Like, it just didn't steer nice. It didn't turn in well into corners, and yeah, it was just a bit shit, really, which was pretty disappointing. So and I was doing some lock-to-lock tests. I changed the rack. I got rid of the old Rally Design rack, and I bought a proper, like, top quality job from Carly Quinton in Birmingham. 2.5 turns, lock-to-lock, all heavy duty, brand new gear, not a recon. And that did improve things, definitely. It definitely made the steering feel a lot better, but it still wouldn't return to centre, and it was still tram lining. And after setting up the new rack to adjust all the track rods again, I realised that half the paint was missing on my wheel arch, and it was the tyres that were catching it. And if you remember, I've got 9B15s all round, with Avon 245 4515 tyres, and the fronts were catching the wheel arches. Now, earlier on in the build, I'd actually sliced the front wings, my brand new bubble arch front wings, and took a big cheese out of them and moved the profile forward. And I'll try and insert a pic now. So this is how the Magnum wheel arches come. You can see they've got quite a wide flange, which is just like bent over at a right angle. And at the front, the arch sort of curls round and hooks back in. And it was that hook, see by the arrow, that was the problem. With the wheel on, like as much lock as I could get, you can see the front of the wheel is contacting that hook, and I've got a very shallow angle. Like, I've got nowhere near full lock. So I started off by trimming that wide flange. I think I took about 10 mil off it to get down to that pencil line. And then at the front, to get rid of that hook, I cut out this big cheese of metal. This is just the first rough cut, and that was like further refined till I ended up with this, and I could push the two halves together. And with the two halves pushed together and the lip trimmed, I then started spot welding it really carefully to try and avoid distortion on the panel. Then I got some 6mm mild steel bar and formed it into the shape of the wheel arch. It was I had to like bend it in sort of like 3D, so front to back and from the outside to the inside, and it took fucking ages, but I got the form right eventually, and then tucked it into the inside corner. So that's the inner wing, the inside of the wing rather, and you can see the wheel arch lip that I've trimmed, and that's tacked then to the outer wing before I heat it up with a gas torch and use a hammer and a planishing dolly to form the wheel arch lip that was previously at a right angle and wrap it around that steel bar. And I did that all the way around the arch. Took most of the primer off the wing in the process from the heat, but I got a really nice smooth edge, and it really adds a massive amount of strength to the wing. Stops me having a sharp edge on the inside, and gives me a lot more clearance against the tyre. This is it from the outside. That's all welded up and smoothed off. You can't see the join anymore. We couldn't even feel the join. So no filler needed there. And you can see the profile of the wheel arch now is much less sharp at the front. So squirt a primer just to stop it going rusty while I'm doing the dry build. Put the wheel back on, and now I can get full lock. You can see I've got a nice gap there at the front of the wheel arch to the tyre, and you can see the extra angle I've got on the steering. Unfortunately, I hadn't set the geometry at that point. I had no way of doing that then. And it was only after, when I realised I needed more caster and the car's painted, that I run into the problem we've got now. So that's what I did. Like I moved the profile of the wheel arch quite significantly forward to give me the extra clearance. But it obviously wasn't enough. And I took all the paint off the front, and I was like, one of the things I need to do, working in geometry myself for the job, I know that more caster improves that on-centre feel. And by increasing the caster, I'm essentially pulling the wheel forward in the wheel arch. Now I've got adjustable front caster because I've got an adjustable tension strut kit, so I can reduce the length of those tension struts, bringing the wheel forward in the wheel arch and increasing the caster. But there's no way I was going to be able to do that, because if I'm already fouling the wheel arch, then that's just going to exacerbate my problem. And after setting up the new rack and adjusting the track rod ends and adjusting the front toe properly, I realised, well, it was a hard foul and I wasn't getting full lock. So I had to take some pretty drastic action. And this is what I did. That's right. To get rid of the old 9x15 wheels and replace them with 8x15s. Now, the rears are 9x15s and they've got an offset of -24, which means they're spaced 24mm out from the hub. The front wheels, because I've got Group 4 hubs on, which already spaces it 10mm, these have got an ET of -12, so they're spaced out 12mm from the hub. That's the centre line of the wheel. And then it's a 9-inch rim with the 245 tyre on it. So I went right back to an 8-inch rim with an offset of ET0, so the wheel is bang in the centre. So by dropping 12mm on the offset and reducing the total width of the rim by an inch, i.e. half an inch aside, another 12mm, that should bring the whole face of the wheel inboard by an inch. And the other thing I can do is have a narrower tyre. So the shoulder on the 245/45, it's quite a square profile. If we have a look like that, you can see how much of a big boot it is. But the side of the tyre is very square. It's a square shoulder. So I needed to bring my shoulders in a bit to give me some clearance. So you can see between the two, there's quite a dramatic difference. And it worked. It solved my problem. So the wheel nearly at full lock. If we're looking down, you can see the gap there between the wheel and the tyre. And what I'd actually done, I'd rubbed the paint off all the inside right up to here. And then what I also had done, when I was reversing into the garage and I was on as much lock as I could get with the tyre fouling, it actually caught this corner, the tyre did, and pulled the wing up. I seen from the driver's seat, I seen my wing lift up like that, and I'm like, fuck. And I have done some damage. Fortunately, it's not horrific. But if I take you down here, underneath the front, a big chunk of paint flaked off. So sorry, Gavin, from Gavin Pink at the paint shop, who did a magnificent job of painting the car. But yeah, it caught this, bent that panel up and flaked this paint off here. I've touched it in for now, but I will get that sorted. I'll have to get that sorted because it's bugging me. But put a touch of paint off to stop it rusting. Let me get back up. So a bit of an unexpected problem when I bought my new wheels from Revolution is that my old centre caps wouldn't fit. Now I had these made out of billet aluminium and then I anodised them, and I got a guy at a graphics place to make the RS badges for me, but they wouldn't fit the wheels. Now normally the Revolution wheels come with like quite a long chrome centre cap that sort of sticks out here. Looks like the top of an aerosol bottle. It looked a bit shit, which is why I had these done. But the wheels, when I bought them from Revolution, come machined out. And so the big chrome centre caps didn't fit. I spoke to Revolution and they said, oh no, like, right, you need these ones, which is the type you'll find on the old Revolution 4-spokes. And they was machined to fit that. But yeah, I didn't like them. So like I say, I had these done, like, right. But when I bought these wheels, they hadn't been machined like this. They was all standard with lips in, so these wouldn't fit anymore. So I had to design the centre caps again. So I did the design and I had them made. I had them 3D printed out of plastic first, just to try the idea. And I liked it. And I thought, well, why don't I just 3D print them in black? So I did. I had them 3D printed in black, but they looked shit, which is a real shame. So again, I had to find somebody who does turning, and I found a guy, and he made me a set of them, and now they're on, and they match the back wheels great. So that decision to go from 9x15s to 8x15s with a narrower tyre and less offset has paid real dividends. It's obviously reduced the width of the wheel by an inch, which has given me full clearance now. I haven't had to touch my wings. I don't need to cut them. I don't need to worry about the top mount. It's reduced the scrub radius and vastly improved the way the steering feels on the car. I can achieve full lock to lock with no fouling with the suspension. When it bounces and I'm driving down the road, I'm getting no tyre scrape at all. The on centre feel is much better. The turning is much nicer, much more responsive. Obviously, with that Carly Quinton quick rack, it's helped a big deal. Just win-win all round, really. Like, right, it's just made a massive improvement. And then it was off to Spire's Tuning in Warwick, and they've got a Hunter wheel alignment rig, and the bloke who runs it really knows his shit. I know him from work, actually. And he's a really clever guy, and he sets up race cars and lots of stuff like that. So I knew it was the place to go. And it turns out that my little method with strings and lasers worked out pretty good. Certainly for setting up the back axle, because he measured it all, both sides, with the wheel alignment rig on a level ramp. And I'd got the wheelbase from the left to the right. So the distance between the centre of the back wheel and the centre of the front wheel was less than a millimetre different from side to side. Less than a millimetre. We don't even achieve that on our brand new cars that we took out the factory. So it was really quite impressed with that. And I got the axle perfectly square in the body, front and rear. And all we had to do really was equalise the toes, equalise the casters, and a little bit on the camber. I got the camber really bloody close as well, with all my home-based tools doing in the garage. With all that set up, I've got over 3 degrees of caster on the front now. It's about 3.5, 3.4 degrees of caster, 2 degrees of negative camber, and zero toe, because that's the way I prefer my cars. And it handles great. It's so much better. It steers, it's really direct. The new racks helped, obviously, going from 245 tyres down to 195s, and less offset and less scrub radius has also increased and improved all the steering feel. So yeah, so sometimes, you know, it might look great, much like having the car super low on the deck, but practically it's no good. So what do you reckon? 8 on the front, 9s on the back. I quite like it. I think it's I think it looks a bit less cartoonish, a bit less Hot Wheels, if you know what I mean. And certainly after having driven it, the improvement going on to 8s is much better. Yeah, it did look really cool with fat rims all round and being on the deck. But like I said, I built this car to drive it, not just to look at it. And the way it drives is really important. And you know, it can drive good and look good at the same time. So I'll be interested what you think anyway. And that's pretty much it. So that's the end of this video. Thanks ever so much for watching. I hope you found it interesting. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you soon for the next one.